Fusebox.
Okay, this is Fusebox number 171, Aphantasia, and you might actually be third eye blind.
Yes, friends, and we may actually have some insights into the...
Saw what you did there.
Off to a flying start, aren't we?
I think that might just be a double word score, too.
Well, you know, I love a good game of Babbage. Or is it Cribble? Not sure. Shall we just restart then? Wonderful. Just wonderful. So, thanks a lot, and until our next You know, for just a second there, I thought we were really going to address a subject that is actually quite serious and, at the same time, fascinating. No, guess not. Oh, we're just kidding around, friends. It's near the end of the week as we record this edition of the show, and
Well, we've just plain lost the will to give a crap.
well, allow me to try to reassemble the parts of this aircraft as we attempt to lift off once again here. So greetings, friends, and welcome into this, the 171st edition of Fusebox, curiously entitled Aphantasia. And believe me, we will endeavor to enlighten you on just what the hell that is in just a bit. I'm your visualizing world peace while playing a savagely violent video game host, Mark Rose, and over there, a guy who routinely sees into the eighth dimension, the Viceroy of Volume, Milt Keynes, everybody.
Thank you kindly. So I've been reading up on this thing, and it's kind of amazing, really.
Aphantasia?
Yeah. You know, at first, I thought it was a condition where people just hate Disney movies. But come to find out, it's the real deal.
It's a real deal, all right, and we'll get into what this is all about, as it is absolutely fascinating. I had never heard of this word until a tube of you algorithmic surprise Poot popped up in my old feed there. At first, I thought, quite honestly, it was just a new album by some ambient artist. You know the ones. Something by Pons Magnets and the Leeches of Whimsy. You know? Or maybe extreme found sound composer Bernard Catatonia. Or maybe more droning landscapes from Jill Awfulhound Parenza. Now, you know, most of those folks are available on Sputtering Monkey Records, just in case you're curious.
In plaid vinyl.
Oh, or at least checkerboard.
Oh, good. That'll get the Illuminati fans all torqued up.
Yeah. But alas, no, it wasn't. In fact, it was a very curious condition that seems to affect between 1 to 3% of the population. So what is this? Well, in a nutshell, it's the inability to use the mind's eye or to visualize something. Think about that for a second. When you read a book or listen to an audio program, even this audio program, your mind is filling in all sorts of information, sometimes not even described in the sources that you're reading or listening to, but your mind is painting the picture, building the sets, and supplying all the actors. A person with aphantasia has none of that.
Man, that must be hell.
Well, actually, Mr. Keynes, not entirely so. For the person with aphantasia, or aphantasics, as they are referred to, these folks can actually be far more attentive and focused when reading or listening, as they're not distracted by details that might cause tangential thinking, you know? For instance, someone references a horse, And as they continue to weave the tale of the horse there, you've just spun off to that time in Mexico where you fell off one on a cobblestone street and was almost run over by an oncoming Jeep, which shouldn't have been going down the damn street in the first place, as it was a one-way road and clearly marked. The idiot would see that if he could just read the damn signs.
Something you want to share here?
Sorry. Another aspect of this condition is the ability, after a traumatic event, to move on with one's life faster than most of us. Why? Well, because the mind is not returning to past experiences or memories with the sort of emotional detail that many of us would have.
Wow. So how does that work exactly? I mean, if they read or listen, what's happening?
Well, the information is understood, of course, but there's no mental image associated. But there are feelings and emotions. They can still be very present, but they just wouldn't have any visual component with it. So if you were to ask a person with aphantasia to imagine something, they could most likely describe it, the object, whatever, explain the concept, rattle off facts that they know about the object, but they would not be able to experience any sort of mental image to accompany this knowledge.
Holy carp. So is this thing like a new thing, or?
Well, and this is what was amazing to me. This condition was first identified in the late 1800s. A guy named Francis Galton first described the occurrence in a paper on mental imagery published in 1880. He was discussing that people experience various degrees of vividness when describing their mental visual imagery. But he then went on to say that some people experienced no visual imagery at all.
1880?
Yeah. But there's been very, very little research done since that time. It appears that much of the information that's out there all comes from a few small studies and a handful of anecdotal accounts from people who have described their symptoms. Now, there was a 2015 study that introduced the first use of the term aphantasia, and that has seemed to have sparked a renewed interest in this condition.
Oh, I see. So we get a new buzzword and suddenly there's interest.
Well, that phenomena seems to carry over into all walks of life, right? Oh, I don't know, like music genres.
So, you've created a whole new musical genre that seems to be sweeping the country. Something you call shunt dub.
Yeah, that's right. It's based on the drizzle step thing, with the two-step stutter bump progression. Well, it's like this. That's it. Yeah, see, this is pretty typical hi-hat pattern in drizzle step. See that?
Yes, I see.
But what I did was a total reinvention of the whole concept and transformed it completely, inventing an entirely new genre.
I see. Now, just to my admittedly untrained ears, they sound very much alike, don't they?
Yeah.
So, what then was the actual difference, just so the non-musicians in the audience can attempt to grasp the scope and depth of your clearly brilliant idea?
Well, for my version, I wasn't wearing pants.
Yeah. We do have a syndrome of sorts with the whole identifying thing. If it can be placed in a box, then we can discuss it and then maybe label it, hang some nice chintz curtains on it, maybe a doily or 2 or 9.
But we digress.
Yes, we do. So in that 2015 study, the authors of that aforementioned study were approached by a patient they labeled as Patient MX, who had recently lost his ability to visualize information following a minor surgery. Now, the author's search of medical literature turned up absolutely nothing to explain why the man could no longer generate visual images within his mind's eye.
So it's still a mystery then?
Yeah, it remains so, Mr. Keynes. As they say, research has continued, but it seems elusive.
1 to 3% of the population, that's still a huge number of folks.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And as a little example of what we're referring to as the mind's eye, how about you take this little journey with us to exercise yours as we visit the inner workings of the mind's ear. Okay, so here we are inside the head. And here, just around this bend, is the central pipe that feeds the mind's ear, or as we call it, the ME. Now you'll notice a bunch of thick cabling or translucent tubes running along the walls here. That's to carry the stimulus information from the brain directly to the ME. Now, just over here, you can see the incredibly complex filing and storage array that is the central repository for all the various memories, images, and artifacts of personal experience that we carry around with us. Now, these, of course, are added to pretty regularly, as you might expect. And as we move along here, you'll find... Oh, whoa, don't step on that thing. Yeah, that's a stray notion. Yeah, they get a bit agitated when you step on them. It's not good. And he's here because this area right here, this is the fears and fantasies bin, and he obviously got out. See, the thing with this area is, on occasion, fears can become mistakenly intertwined with other memory artifacts and then create a truly bizarre outcome. Well, for instance, like being horrified at opening a sock drawer. Yeah. Or maybe terrified by an English cucumber. It is, after all, quite an organic process around here. Turning now to what is the central projection device of the ME. Now, it's situated deep within these spiraling chambers and sits within a huge spherical structure that has thousands of tiny hair-like strands or filaments that serve to conduct the various visual memories of color, taste, sound, smells, and touch, and brings them all together into this wondrous display that we're seeing right here before us, which is then, from this display point, transmitted to the brain for further experiential purposes. So, indeed, the mind's ears and eyes, like somehow a separate part of us, but same time, inextricably join. So that right there was indeed a certified organic and interdimensionally sanctified example of the mind's eye, ear, at work. Now, the point being that there would be a few folks out there right now who might have been intrigued with the sounds and maybe even get a chuckle or three out of that audio excursion there, but they just wouldn't see it the way many of us do, down to the lighting and colors. Maybe even the smells would come to mind.
I don't know about ear smells. I think you're getting into that taste color zone.
Synesthesia, it's known as. Yeah, another interesting condition. That one might actually be a bit more invasive in the day-to-day world, though.
No thanks. I'll take the default variety, please.
Sometimes normal is good. Not often. Just sometimes. You may well ask, but host guy, how do people who have aphantasia function in this world? Can they be creatives? And what is that funny thing hanging over the mic stand? Well, fair question. And let me tell you about a few folks who have done pretty damn well for themselves in spite of this condition. And let's start with this chap, a guy by the name of Ed Catmull, co-founder of Pixar and former president of Walt Disney Animation Studios. Didn't stop him from anything. Actually, it might have caused him to render his work more directly, because he's working from the page itself and not chasing some elusive image in the brain. And then there's Craig Ventnor, biologist, who first sequenced the human genome.
I bet for the sciences, it's actually preferred not to be distracted by your head films.
Yeah, maybe. Also, in the technical department, we've got Blake Ross, creator of Mozilla Firefox. Or how about this one? Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller, the iconic magicians.
Now, he's not the guy who never says anything.
Correct. That's Teller. It's kind of ironic, too, huh? As with a name like Teller, he never tells anything.
You might be onto something there.
Can't imagine what, but anyway, so there's a little info on a most curious condition, and one, like many, actually, that confound explanation, and for many who have it, find it doesn't really impede their progress one bit.
Well, if we're talking about this, then it's got to be a topic somewhere. I think it's a grant natural,
Oh, I'm sure there are a few folks out there positing that notion right now, Mr. Keynes. And they may be positing it with this guy. Yeah.
Take care of yourself and come back soon.
TheFuseboxShow.com.
And now, Spotlight on Film.
So, keeping with the phantasmagoric underpinnings of this episode, I'd like to chat with you a bit about a film you most likely have not seen.
Safe bet.
Yes. Well, for sure, this is not in your wheelhouse, Mr. Keynes, but there will be a few in our audience that might really be interested in this little gem from Poland, released in 1973. The film is called The Hourglass Sanatorium and comes to us from director Wojiech. It's adapted from a 1937 collection of stories by Polish author Bruno Schulz, entitled Sanatorium Under the Sign of the Hourglass.
Uh-oh. So we have like long shots of folks mumbling and slowly walking into the woods.
No.
Lots of leaves crunching under their feet really loud.
Nope. Not in this one.
Some guy pushing a wooden cart with a stuffed dog on it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
The film follows the journey of a young chap named Joseph, played by actor Jan Nowicki, as he visits his dying father in a very mysterious sanatorium. Joseph comes to find that time and most of reality behaves very differently inside this here sanatorium, and he soon finds himself totally immersed in a web of mysteries, memories, fantasies, and visions which express the longings and certainly the frustrations of his childhood.
Yeah, sounds like the feel-good film in 1973, bro.
It's actually amazing, man. Visually stunning. I think the scenic design in this thing will have you thinking of perhaps Terry Gilliam at times. And then just as quick, maybe the work of French directors Jeunet and Caro, who brought us City of Lost Children and Delicatessen. I also think that the work of Emir Kusturica is in this category, like Black Cat, White Cat, and to a lesser degree, perhaps Arizona Dream, that one starring Johnny Depp. It's an astounding thing to watch, friends. This burnt-out and dilapidated sanatorium with all the Byzantine corridors and cobwebbed rooms within rooms within rooms really gives this film a unique flavor. It's been said that the author, Bruno Schulz, was Poland's answer to Franz Kafka. And you certainly get that feel in the storyline here, that's for sure. The endless mystery, questions leading to more questions, or answers to questions nobody really asked. It's a strangely moving film, if I can say that. I know that sounds strange, but because at one time, you can get totally lost in this landscape Haas has created and feel at times like you're just drifting in this atmosphere. But then something profound will happen to one of the characters to reinforce the reality and gravity of the situation, and then also reinforce the surreality at the same moment. It's a very intriguing balance, and one that's really not easy to maintain.
Does it make you want to kill yourself at the end? Because,
No, not at all. I won't spoil it for you or anyone wishing to seek this out, as you will have to seek it out. This version I located in Canada, and to this date, anyway, nobody has reissued it. Mr. Bongo Films is the agent of release on the standard DVD edition I found. I have to say, if anything was meant to get a proper Blu-ray or 4K treatment, it's this thing. Seems like a natural for Criterion.
Is this another one of those 3.5-hour epics?
No. This one's comes in around 2 hours. It feel like some sort of dream that flies past in 25 minutes.
Really? Well, maybe it'd make a good midnight movie.
Well, you know what? That's kind of funny that you mentioned that, Mr. Keynes, because while watching this, I was reminded of the kind of film Alejandro Jodorowsky makes, like Holy Mountain or Santa Sangre. This is a very layered storytelling technique going on in this thing. One on the level of reality as we know it, and then another on the hyper surreal level. They both work in tandem with one another to paint this entire picture. You really couldn't have one without the other in this thing, I think.
Psychedelic sandwich, bro.
Weren't they a band out of Redwood City? Highly recommended. Hourglass Sanatorium. You might want to search Amazon for this thing. That's what I did, if you're intrigued. It's worth the effort.
Or they could just drop by your place. I'm sure he'd be glad to scroll it off for you guys.
Only if you make the popcorn.
And with that...
And with that, We'll call it a show, friends, and take our crumbling sanatoriums and stuffed dogs on a cart and waddle off back down the drainpipe. But not before a nod of thanks to our contributors in this edition of the show, Kevin Cook, Aaron Lane, and Jeff Pollard for excellent verbosity and all-around stellar performances and stuff like that. Thanks as well to the guardian of the germanium amplifiers, Milt Keynes, for technical assistance and so forth and so on.
Yeah, it's been a true slice.
Yeah. And of course, thanks to you, friends, for pushing play on this edition of Fusebox. We do so appreciate that. Almost as much as we appreciate your kind patronage at the Fusebox store, which, as we know, it's...
It's as simple as pie. You go to thefuseboxshow.com and click on the shopping tab. And like flippin' magic, there you are. Oh, and if you're one of those book a face folks, click on the Shop Now button on the Fusebox Show Facebook page. Okay? Also, quick as a bunny. There you go. Enough said.
And you can subscribe to the show, too, wherever you found this thing. Or through thefuseboxshow.com. Give us a rating or a review, too, if you can.
Indeed, Mr. Keynes. All of that activity assists in helping us to continue to do whatever the hell it is we've been doing here for 7 years. I have been your time-traveling on $3 a day host, Mark Rose, saying, until our next cartoon.
You want butter on this?
Fusebox.